What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one and only Ash Said It. AshSaidIt.com. AshSaidIt.com. Thank you for joining the Ash Said It Daily podcast show. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for downloading the show on all the different platforms, sharing us across social media. I am so blessed and I'm so thankful. And today, I've got a treat. I have got the founder and CEO of JessicaShops.com, the beautiful Jessica Dauler. Jessica.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You're a busy lady.
I am, yes. I'm very busy, but it doesn't feel like work necessarily because I do enjoy so many aspects of what I do.
Yes. All right, Jessica. So for those people that maybe are not familiar with you or what Jessica Shops is, could you, I guess, starting off from day one, how did Jessica Shops start?
Well, first of all, it's interesting because I've always had a passion for shopping and saving money. I think a lot of women can probably relate to that. A lot of people can probably relate to that. But I grew up in two cities that weren't really big areas for shopping. One was on the island of Hawaii, the big island of Hawaii. Not a lot of shopping options there. And then we ended up moving to Tucson, Arizona. So I feel like most of my life, we would take shopping trips. Shopping was a destination and it was a plan. And, we would go to like another island to shop. We would go to another part of Arizona to shop. So I was always obsessed with being able to be in a bigger market and find a deal. So when I moved to Atlanta, this was back in 2001, and that was just about the time that Atlanta was really starting to grow. It was just the beginning, nothing like it is now. Now it's just booming like crazy. But so I came into this new city, and here were so many opportunities to shop, and then not only shop, save. I didn't have an endless budget. So I had to I was overwhelmed by all the options, and I had to find a way to make it work. So I started just looking for deals and telling people about them. I ended up taking the idea to a radio program and said, hey, I think this would make a nice segment on your show. There's so much information, there's so many listeners, and maybe they want to hear about all of these things that I'm finding. So that's how it initially started. And I never thought it was going to be anything more than just fun for me, the ability to just share some information with people. Well, when I started doing it, it just took off so quickly. I would get bombarded with email from people about, what did you say? I was in my car. I didn't hear the exact location. And then I did have a technical background somewhat, so I knew how to put together a website and a web page. So at that point, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to build this web page so I can list all the deals that I've talked about on the radio, and people can use it as a reference. So that's where it started, and then it just started growing and growing. So the web page turned into a website, and that turned into an email newsletter, and I kind of feel like it was back then what a current day blog is today.
Yeah, I definitely was one of the listeners tuning in to find out where the buys were. What was Jessica talking about this week and what was going on? And so we appreciate that, and we definitely thank you for that. So for you, when did you realize this blog, this web page, was becoming bigger than what you had originally planned?
Fairly quickly, because a lot of businesses were tuning in as well and started to get word of the fact that I had this medium to get information out to their consumers. And so they started sending me information and making contact with me. And I would go, I feel like I know my way around Atlanta so well, mainly because I would drive from store to store and I would meet these store owners and I would introduce myself and I would tell them what I was doing. And then I started creating a database of their contact information and just establishing relationships that then led to the information that I needed to put out in Atlanta. So, I mean, it just very quickly grew, and I started thinking, well, I have all this information coming in. People want the information. The retailers want to put the information out there. And I thought, how can I turn this into a business? Mm-hmm. And at that time, I don't know if you remember, Daily Candy was in existence.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a website called Daily Candy, and they were putting out a similar type of email with information. So I just started reaching out to all of my contacts and saying, hey, you know, I'm putting out this email with all this information about deals. If you want to be a part of it, there's an advertising fee. I mean, and they were more than willing to jump on board for that because they thought, well, it's different than traditional print advertising, a little bit less expensive, so let's give it a try. And they just started getting such great results that eventually it just got larger and larger, and people were referring me to other retailers, and it just kept growing.
Okay. So when in the initial stages as you were building your brand, were there any particular niches that you had as far as like women's clothing, babies, jewelry, or was it all around just pretty much finding where deals were?
It was pretty much just deals. So, you know, I mentioned that I was new to Atlanta, so I was also shopping for myself. I mean, I had just moved in to my own place. I didn't have any furniture. I didn't have the things that I needed. So I was finding things that I needed as well and noticing what was out there, and then I would report on those items as well. And then, you know, sometimes I would just go to different parts of town and sit in a Starbucks and look at people and think, okay, well, what's happening in Kennesaw? I mean, it looks like there's a lot of moms. They all have their babies. They probably want to know where to find baby items around here. And, you know, or else I would go into Buckhead and think, okay, what do I think these people are shopping for? And I would kind of do a little bit of research and use that to target the audience a little bit.
Gotcha. And as things were growing and progressing with your brand, what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Time. And I think time management was a big one. And also the ability to bring on other people and delegate to them. Because, you know, I think one of the things that people who start their own brand or start their own business and they build it from the ground up, you know, they're so familiar with it. They have such a passion for it. It's kind of hard to release control over some areas and try to explain it to someone new. You know, I brought in a couple of interns, brought in 2 employees because it was just getting to be too much work for me. I mean, I was working constantly. Yeah. That's all I was doing. You know, it was just barely sleeping, but I loved it, so it didn't really matter. But at the same time, I thought, wow, I just really don't do a lot of other things. I'm losing my friends. So I'm going to have to start expanding here a little bit. So I think the time management and the delegation were my biggest challenges in the beginning, and also being really realistic about a monetary business plan. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like you have to write down all of your costs and everything that comes in and make sure that you're making a profit and figure out how to continue to grow that. Because otherwise, it then just kind of becomes a hobby, you know, and you can't let that happen. Because it's really easy, I think, to let that happen.
A lot of new entrepreneurs, that they fall into that pitfall of, oh, well, you know, I just love it anyways. That's wonderful, but you still need to eat.
Right. Right. Otherwise, then maybe you should just start to claim yourself as a charity on your taxes, so at least you have write-offs, you know?
Basically. All right, Jessica, with the holidays coming up, what can people look forward to as far as deals right now?
Well, the holiday deals, they're just starting to get out there. Like, I mean, I just found a great deal on holiday laser lights, which are the big thing now. People are putting those laser lights in their front yards, the ones that will shine on the house with different patterns.
Yeah.
So rather than stringing lights, they just plug these spotlights into the yard, and then they have this great little dancing laser light show on the front of their house, which is brilliant. Mm-hmm. But I just found a deal at Staples. So I think one of the things that I like to do is create awareness of where things can be found that people might not realize. Like people might think, oh, Staples is only for office supplies. But then lo and behold, here's the 2-for-1 offer on laser lights. So you're basically getting them for $9 a light, which is 50% off their normal price. Mm-hmm. So little things like that I like to put up on my site and just keep it interesting and keep it fun. I mean, shopping in Atlanta can be a challenge sometimes with the traffic, so I want to make the ride worth it once people get there and be excited about what they found.
Jessica, with this experience under your belt and so much more ahead of you, because you're everywhere, girl. Your face is everywhere, the website is everywhere, and it continues to snowball into this great big entity. What advice would you offer to any new person that looks at what you're doing and they're saying, you know what, maybe I could do something similar?
I think my advice would be that don't ever automatically assume that something isn't going to work out for you if you think that you don't have all the knowledge that you need. And I'll try to explain that. So, for example, for me, I had some technical knowledge when I started Jessica Shops. I didn't have as much radio experience when I started to go on the radio, but the radio part of it really intrigued me. I was very, very nervous. I wasn't really sure if I could do it, but I jumped into it as a challenge. And if I had never done that, I would have never figured out that, wow, I can take everything that's being broadcast and put it onto a different medium to reach people. Mm-hmm. So I think there might be people out there who think, oh, I'd like to start a blog, but what do I really want to talk about, or what am I an expert at? And you don't always have to know that answer right out of the gate. You can start down one path, and if you need to change in a different direction, it's okay. I mean, it is okay to start over, and it's okay to just keep trying. And eventually you'll find something that works for you, and the inspiration comes just from the attempts.
Jessica Dauler, jessicashops.com, founder, CEO. Jessica, where are you up to next? I know that you're doing a ton of different events. Where can people catch you next?
Well, you can always find out what's going on just by visiting jessicashops.com. Mm-hmm. I guess my ultimate dream and goal, and again, here's the challenge, figuring out how to put all these parts together. I would love to build this bigger and expand into the Southeast, for example, so that, when people are traveling around the Southeast, whether they come from Florida or Alabama or go up to the mountains, to kind of have a guide to what's happening. Like, oh, if I go to the North Georgia mountains, what's the one thing that I should look for that I can't find anywhere else that maybe would be a great item for me to have or give as a gift or an experience that I should do. So I'd like to just kind of start getting a little bit of a broader reach. But, like I said earlier, Atlanta is growing so fast, I'm having a hard time even keeping up with that. So we'll see what happens.
All right, that is perfect. Jessica Dauler, thank you so much for passing through to the show today. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I'm very honored.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for downloading the show. I appreciate you guys beyond words. I mean, 250,000 streams worldwide. I could never even have imagined it. So I thank each and every one of you. Keep in mind, anything that you want to do, jump out the gate, do it. Anyone I want to tell you different, you look them square in the face and tell them, don't believe me, just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. Because that's what we're doing this for. We're doing this for the history books. Social media is nice, it's cool, it's fun, but real life is so much better. Until next time, you guys.